Hello everyone. Our topic is about comparing educational system across the globe. Among these continents are Asia, North America, Europe, and South America. First, let's discuss about Asia, specifically Japan. Educational system. Education in Japan. General objectives. All people shall have the right to receive an equal education corresponding to their abilities as provided by the law. The people shall be obligated to have all boys and girls under their protection receive general education. Compulsory education shall be free. The central aims of education is to have the full development of personality, striving for the rearing of people sound in mind and body, who shall love and justice, esteem the value of the individual, respect labor, and have the deep sense of responsibility, and imbued with an independent spirit as builder of the peaceful state or society. Curriculum designed and created by Bosho or the Ministry of Education. Ministry's course of study is composed of a wide variety of subjects, both academic and non-academic, including moral education and special activities. Subjects includes Japanese language, social studies, science, arts, music, home economics, physical education. In Japan, we have 6 years of elementary school, 3 years for junior high school, 3 years for high school, 4 years for university. This is an educational chart. As you can see, elementary school and junior high school under compulsory education. During their 10th grade to 12th grade, they can choose high school or technology college, miscellaneous school, or specialized training college. In higher education, we have in university, junior college, miscellaneous schools, specialized training college, and graduate school. School calendar. School calendar classes normally starts in April and ends in March of the following year. Field trips happen in May or spring, annual sports in September or autumn, 3 long vacations. They have summer break, winter break, and spring break. Example of the daily schedule. Educational system of Japan in elementary, we have compulsory for children aged 6 to 12, 99.35% public and only 6.65% private. Enrollment rate is 99%. Considered as the first step of the child into society, provide children aged 6 to 12 with elementary general education suited to the appropriate stage of their mental and physical development. Children are not held back if they do poorly and the other way around. Lower secondary education, part of the compulsory stage in Japan education. Students aged 12 to 15, purpose is to provide general education corresponding students' mental and physical development on the basis their primary education. Upper secondary high school. It is not compulsory. Students aged 15 to 18. Purpose is to provide higher general education and specialized education according to students' mental and physical development on the foundation of the lower secondary education. Higher education, junior college ages 18 to 22 must take in NAT and the national exam itself. Graduate school ages 22 to 24, only 7% gets masters. Doctorate level ages 24 to 28. Students take humanities and medical program. Government system. The government of Japan is the constitutional monarchy. Japan also has a unitary system of government in which the central government has all the power. Citizens elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. The central or national government has 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The executive branch is composed of emperor, the prime minister, and the cabinet. The emperor is Japan's chief of state. The emperor does not have any real political power. The emperor acts as the representative of the Japanese people. The prime minister is the head of the government. The prime minister is Japan's top government official. The leader of the political party that receives the most votes becomes the prime minister. The prime minister also appoints his or her cabinet for our advisors to the prime minister. Let's move on to legislative branch. The legislative branch is called the Diet. Members of Japan's parliament are elected by the people of Japan. The Diet creates Japan's laws. Japan's prime minister is selected by members of the Diet. Judicial branch. The judicial branch is composed of Japan's Supreme Court. 15 judges make up the Supreme Court. One of those judges is known as the Chief Justice. The Supreme Court's job is to make sure the members of the legislative and executive branches are following Japan's constitution. Japanese prefectures. Japan is made up of 47 governed districts or prefectures. Top religion in Japan. Shinto is the top religion in Japan. That got 79.20%. Shintoism, meaning the way of the gods, is an informal animist, nature-worshipping religion that honors ancestors, pays tribute to kamis or spirits, and has traditionally had strong bonds with the Japanese state, emperor, and culture. Basic history of education. The history of education in Japan dates back at least to the 6th century when Chinese learning was introduced at the Yamato court. This picture was taken during the Edo period. The Yoshima Sido in Edo was the chief educational institution of the state, and at its head was the Daigaku no Kami, a title which identified the leader of the Tokugawa training school for shogunate bureaucrats. But temple school or Terrakoya educated peasants too, and it is estimated that at the end of the Edo period, 50% of the male and 20% of the female population possessed some degree of literacy. Even though contact with foreign countries was restricted, books from China and Europe were eagerly imported, and Rangaku or Dutch studies became a popular area of scholarly interest. These pictures were taken during Meiji Restoration. After the Meiji Restoration of 1868, the method and structures of Western learning were adopted as a means to make Japan a strong modern nation. Students and even high-ranking government officials were sent abroad to study, such as the Iwakura Mission. Foreign scholars, the so-called Oyatoi Gaitokojin, were invited to teach at newly funded universities and military academies. Compulsory education was introduced. Post-World War II. After the defeat in the World War II, the Allied occupation government set an education reform as one of its primary goals to eradicate militarist teachings and democratize Japan. The education system was rebuilt after the American model. Economic development, the post-war miracle. First, the agricultural age economic system. During this age, their economic system was nowhere near what it is today because they were isolated island nation who didn't trust anyone. However, their farmers and fishermen were some of the world's best at their specialty. Industrial age economic system. Japanese then began developing heavy industries such as steel and shipbuilding. After they started to be a financially rich country from the goods they were creating, there was no stopping them from creating new industries to exploit and reap an economic gain from during this age. Information age economic system. In this age, Japan is still striving to create new industries for additional revenue. For example, during this era, Japan improved on or created color television, VCR, fax machines, compact disc, etc.
Good morning. My topic is about the educational system in Europe, particularly in Spain. First is the Spain's educational objective. In Spain, primary school or colegio is made up of 6 academic school years. The objective is to give Spanish students a common, solid education in culture, oral expression, reading, writing, and math. Primary education and compulsory secondary education comprise Spain's basic education. The 10 years of schooling shall be compulsory and free of charge. The aim of education in Spain is for students to develop critical thinking skills and other abilities that will help them in their adult lives, such as working as part of a team. Next is the type of curriculum. There are 3 key stages: primary education, compulsory secondary education, and baccalaureate curricula. Spanish is the language of instruction and the medium for the delivery of the curriculum. Primary schools in Spain are 6 years broken up into 3 cycles. Students learn subjects such as language, literature, math, science, and social sciences. Many schools also offer optional Catholic lessons. Secondary school, which lasts 4 years, consists of both core and elective classes. At the end, students receive a Graduate of Secondary Education certificate. From there, they can go on to upper secondary, which would then allow them the ability to apply to a university, vocational school, or they can end their schooling altogether and enter the workforce. The educational ladder of Spain. First is the voluntary education. Preschool education or infant education is encouraged for children under the age of 6. There are 2 cycles of preschool which are divided by age, 0 to 3 years old and 3 to 6 years old. The first cycle is often held in daycare center or preschools, and most of the time it isn't free for students. The second cycle is free for all students enrolled in public schools that offer education infantile or early childhood education. The second cycle of preschool in public schools focus on emotional development, movement and control of body habits, communication and language, and positive body image. Higher to that is the compulsory education. Primary education or educación primaria consists of 6 years structured as 3 cycles from 1st grade through 6th grade. First cycle, 1st and 2nd grade. Second cycle, 3rd and 4th grade. Third cycle, 5th and 6th grade. Another compulsory education is the secondary education or secundaria. Compulsory education is basic free education in state schools. Secondary education consists of 4 years, structured as 2 cycles from 7th to 10th grade. First cycle, 1st and 2nd year. Second cycle, 3rd and 4th year. Next is the non-compulsory education, or the higher secondary education. It is optional for students in Spain. After finishing obligatory secondary education, students in Spain may either choose to undertake 2-year studies. Bachillerato certificate, which make them eligible for university education. Bachillerato is organized in a flexible way, allowing students to receive specialized training in numerous branches like sciences, humanities, and social sciences, as well as arts. Or vocational training, which will make them eligible for the skilled job market. Next is the higher education. University. To enter university in Spain, students must have received their Bachillerato certificate as well as have passed their university entrance exams known as selectividad. And specialized studies, or studying a master's degree in Spain, like language studies in language schools, artistic studies in conservatories, and sports studies in sports schools. Now, let us proceed to the type of government. The Kingdom of Spain is a constitutional monarchy, in which the monarch is the head of the state. Philip VI is the King of Spain. He ascended the throne on June 19, 2014 upon the abdication of his father. While the Prime Minister, whose official title is President of the Government, is the head of the government. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, a Spanish politician since June 2018. Deputy Prime Ministers, they are designated by the Prime Minister. Currently, Nadia Calviño Santamaría, a Spanish economist and civil servant who serves as first Deputy Prime Minister of Spain since July 2021. Yolanda Díaz Pérez is the Spanish politician and lawyer specialized in labor law, serving as second Deputy Prime Minister since 2021. And Teresa Ribera Rodriguez, a Spanish jurist, university professor, and politician who was appointed 4th Deputy Prime Minister, and in 2021 she was promoted to 3rd Deputy Prime Minister. Spain is organizationally structured as a so-called state of autonomies. It is one of the most decentralized countries in Europe. Health and education systems, among others, are managed by the Spanish communities. More specifically, the Spanish Constitution describes Spain's form of government as parliamentary monarchy, in which the monarch acts as a moderator rather than a source of executory authority. There are 3 branches of Spain government: the executive, legislative, and judicial. The legislative branch is made up of Congress of Deputies, a lower house with 350 members elected by the popular vote to serve 4-year terms, and the Senate or Senado, an upper house with 259 seats, of which 208 are directly elected by the popular vote using a limited voting method, and the other 51 appointed by the regional legislatures to also serve 4-year terms. The executive branch consists of Council of Ministers presided over by the Prime Minister, who is nominated as candidate by the monarch after holding consultations with representatives from the different parliamentary groups, voted in by the members of the lower house during the investiture session, and then formally appointed by the monarch. The third branch of government is the judicial branch. The judiciary is made up of courts. The Supreme Court of Spain is the highest judicial body in Spain. The magistrate, local courts to entertain criminal proceedings, and municipal courts have criminal jurisdictions over crimes committed in city. The judicial branch interprets the laws. Now, let us proceed to the geographical features of Spain. Officially, the Kingdom of Spain is a country in southwestern Europe with some pockets of territory in Mediterranean Sea, offshore in Atlantic Ocean, and across the Strait of Gibraltar. Its continental European territory is situated on the Iberian Peninsula, and its insular territory includes the Balearic Island in the Mediterranean Sea, several small islands in the Albora Sea, and Canary Islands in the Atlantic Ocean. The country's mainland is bordered to the south by the British Overseas Territory of Gibraltar, to the south and east by the Mediterranean Sea, to the north by France, Andorra, and the Bay of Biscay, and the west by Portugal and the Atlantic Ocean. Spain is the largest country in southern Europe, the second largest country in Western Europe and the European Union, and the fourth largest country by area on the European continent. Spain's capital and largest city is Madrid. Other major urban areas include Barcelona, Valencia, Seville, Zaragoza, Malaga, Murcia, Palma de Mallorca, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, and Bilbao. Next is climate. Spain's climate is less temperate than the rest of Europe. The north and northwest of country, mild and wet conditions prevail. The southern part of Spain is warm and dry year-round. Snowfall in Spain is infrequent except in the mountains. Now for the brief history of education in Spain. The history of Spain dates to the antiquity when the pre-Roman people of Mediterranean coast of the Iberian Peninsula made contact with the Greeks and Phoenicians, and the first writing systems known as Paleo-Hispanic scripts were developed. The formal history of education in Spain must begin with the history of Roman education because it established the basis of subsequent educational thought and literature for many centuries. Romans brought their system of education to Spain, and it flourished in all parts of the Roman Empire. Roman education in Spain took many forms. It usually started with the education of children in the family by parents and relatives or tutors. During the 5th century, education in Middle Ages became much more formalized in Spain with the establishment of monastic schools. During the second half of 9th century and in the 10th century, important Islamic academies were founded in Muslim Spain, especially in the city of Cordoba. In these academies, education originated mostly from close studies of the commentaries of the Quran and philology. During the 15th century, Renaissance humanism spread from Italy to Spain. As in other European countries, Renaissance education in the humanities was a court phenomenon. During the second half of 16th century, Spanish higher education started to decline. This decline began during the reign of Philip II and the application of the Ley Pragmatica of 1559. At the end of 17th century and at the beginning of the 18th century, a small group of Spanish thinkers began to speak out against Spain's intellectual isolation. The 18th century in Spain was a period of reform, and one of the principal instruments of reform was education. According to the Constitution of 1812, education was the basic responsibility of the state. It was not until the middle of the 19th century that there were any real efforts for constructing a true system of education for Spain. The period of the Restoration ended with the military uprising of General Primo de Rivera in 1923 and his attacks on academic freedom in Spanish higher education. During subsequent years, education in Spain was converted into the transmission of Franco views of Spanish nationalism and Catholic ideology. One of the most important events which changed not only contemporary Spanish education but also the whole of Spanish society and culture after the death of Franco was the Spanish Constitution of 1978. One of the first attempts at reform which came about after the establishment of the new constitution was the Organic Law of 1980, which while short-lived laid the foundations for the University Reform Law of 1983. These reforms established the basis for the Organic Law on the General Organization of the Educational System of 1990 and the subsequent Organic Law on Participation, which characterizes the basic nature and structure of Spanish education at the beginning of the 21st century. Next is religion in Spain. Roman Catholicism, which has a long history in Spain, remains the dominant religion. Although it is no longer has official status by law, in all public schools in Spain, students have to choose either a religion or ethics class. Catholicism is the religion most commonly taught, although the teaching of Islam, Judaism, and evangelical Christianity is also recognized in law. According to the 2020 study by the Spanish Center for Sociological Research, about 61% of Spaniards self-identity as Catholics, 3% other faith, and about 35% identify with no religion. Most Spaniards do not participate regularly in religious services. The Spanish Constitution enshrines secularism in governance as well as freedom of religion or belief for all, saying that no religion should have a state character while allowing for the state to cooperate with the religious groups. A study made by the Union of Islamic Communities of Spain demonstrated that there were more than 2,100,000 inhabitants of Muslim background living in Spain as of 2019, accounting for 4 to 5% of the total population of Spain. The vast majority was composed of immigrants and descendants originating from other African countries. And for the economy of Spain, Spain's capitalist mixed economy is the 14th largest worldwide and the 4th largest in the European Union, as well as the Eurozone's 4th largest. Unemployment stood at 17.1% in June 2017, below Spain's early 1990s unemployment rate of at over 20%. Spanish companies have gained multinational status, often expanding their activities in culturally close Latin America. Spain is the second biggest foreign investor there, after the United States. Spanish companies have also expanded into Asia, especially China and India. Automotive industry. The automotive industry is one of the largest employers in the country. Agriculture. Spain is the world's leading producer of oranges and mandarins. Crops areas were farmed in two highly diverse manners. Tourism. Benidorm, one of Europe's largest coastal tourist destinations. In 2017, Spain was the second most visited country in the world, recording 82 million tourists, which marked the fifth consecutive year of record-beating numbers. The headquarters of the World Tourism Organization are located in Madrid. Energy. Solar power plant Andasol was the first parabolic through power plant in Europe. In 2010, Spain became the solar power world leader when it overtook the United States with a massive power station plant called La Florida near Alvarado Badajoz. Spain is also Europe's main producer of wind energy. Transport. The Port of Valencia, one of the busiest in the Golden Banana. The Spanish road system is mainly centralized with 6 highways connecting Madrid to the Basque Country, Catalonia, Valencia, West Andalusia, Extremadura, and Galicia. Spain aims to put 1 million electric cars on the road as part of the government's plan to save energy and boost energy efficiency. Science and technology. In the 19th and 20th centuries, science in Spain was held back by severe political instability and consequent economic underdevelopment. Despite the conditions, some important scientists and engineers emerged. The most notable were Miguel Servet, Santiago Ramon y Cajal, Narcis Monturiol, Celedonio Calatayud, Juan de la Cuerva, Leonardo Torres y Quevedo, Margarita Salas, and Severo Ochoa. The Consejo Superior de Investigaciones Científicas is the leading public agency dedicated to scientific research in the country. It ranked as the 5th top governmental scientific institution worldwide and 32nd overall in the 2018 Simago Institutions rankings. Spain was ranked 30th in the Global Innovation Index in 2020, down from 29th in 2019. Thank you.